everybody, let's look at a couple of resumes, find out what's good about them, what's bad about them, and what we can learn. Let's go over to the internet. Now, I'm just going to pick some resumes at random. This is the first thing that pops up when I look for a resume for an engineer, okay? And here we go. Here's the first resume. This looks like more of a traditional type resume, although I noticed that they have their education at the beginning. Now, personally, I like that because it sort of tells me who they are in a nutshell at their core. But that is sort of going against the convention. Usually, you put education after experience, and the thinking on this, I believe, is that recruiters in general, if this is going to a recruiter, they care more about experience than they do about education. So you try to give them the stuff they care about up front, okay? The conventional wisdom is that whatever they're looking for, whatever they've said they're looking for in the job description, you put up front, okay? And you use their lingo, okay? So if they're describing it a certain way, you describe it that way on your resume. Personally, I don't mind this, but that's just me. They got the experience on here. I'm going to assume that the spelling and grammar is fine. I don't see any obvious issues. I do notice, however, that they are listing their duties. Okay, they're listing like their responsibilities. This is what I did. I did this, I did this, I did this. I don't see a lot of accomplishments. I don't see a lot of quantifiable accomplishments on here. Now, just so you know, what that would look like is you say the impact you made. And usually you measure that in two ways. One is in terms of money, that you saved the company or that you made the company. That's the value of what you did. Or the percentage change. You improved the efficiency. You improved results in terms of a percentage. I improved the efficiency of this operation by 10%, something like that. Those would be accomplishments. Now, they're quantifiable and they also show your capabilities. So those are good to have. Now, a good way of doing it is to have this, like the way this resume does it, where you just have a few duties, but also maybe an accomplishment if you have it, okay, for each role. They got the contact information up here, which is good, but there's no, they got their fax number. So if you want to contact them by fax, I suppose that's good. I would recommend, if you have a LinkedIn profile, to put a link to it. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get yourself a LinkedIn profile. A resume is a static document. A LinkedIn profile is an example of something that enhances your resume because it allows other people to endorse what you have, to provide recommendations and validate the things that you have. So that's the value of a LinkedIn profile as opposed to a resume. So if you link to a LinkedIn profile, that's good. If they want to, they can go there to get more information. So that's that example. This is the next example. This is more of a traditional resume. It's more of a hybrid resume in a traditional format. So they have their experience up front and then their education towards the end. They list skills, and then they also list a sort of professional summary. Now, if you are going for certain type jobs, if you're going for like certainly management type jobs, it's good to include a professional summary, okay? Any type of job where there's a lot of decision making going on, it's good to have this, okay? That's called a hybrid resume as opposed to a chronological resume. This is good. They got their contact information up at the top, which is good. The font is readable. A good font is something like Helvetica or Arial. You know, it's very easy to read. It's designed to be easy to read. But the thing about resumes is that, listen, it's not a one-size-fits-all document. Your resume is going to look different based on what you're intending to do with it. For example, some people, they're intending that their resume goes and is read by a machine, okay, an ATS system. If that's the case, the style, for example, doesn't really matter. What the machine cares about more are keywords, and you're using the right exact words and they're prominent, okay? That's generally how it works. If you're Going to a recruiter, you want to care about readability and stuff like this and do all the things that recruiters care about. For example, a lot of recruiters, for some reason, they don't like pictures. They don't like having a headshot in there. I don't understand why that is. I'm a hiring manager. I like to have a headshot in there. It just adds something and you see kind of who the person is. And it's also much more memorable than a name. So that's what I would say. Now, this resume includes an abbreviation, okay? In this case, I'm sure it means professional engineer. Yeah, they define it here. The first time you use an abbreviation, you should spell it out, okay, just so everybody's on the same page, rather than saying it again and then spelling it out the second time. But yeah, other than that, this looks pretty good. The skills section, this may be more tuned into an ATS system, if you're sending this into an ATS system. I don't see this having a ton of value for recruiters or for hiring managers or anything other than like an ATS system, to be honest with you. If you don't have anything much in your experience section, then it makes sense to have skills and summaries. But if you have a lot of experience, then you don't really need this. You can easily incorporate these elements into where you applied them. And if you could tie those once again to accomplishments, that will give you an edge. Nobody cares about your grades unless this is your first job right out of school. That's kind of the general rule. Obviously, there's exceptions to that, but that's generally how this works. So this is okay. It's a bit basic, but not bad. Now this is, once again, we've got education up front, and this is strange to me how I'm getting a lot of these. Usually you don't do this. The only time you would put your education up front before your employment history is if you haven't really had any career jobs. Maybe you're coming right out of school and education is the big selling point for you. The fact that you've got a degree or a certification or whatever it is. Okay. Or you have very specialized education, then, that not a lot of people have, or a strange combination of things that you could apply all of them. So that's generally how it works. Now, you have a professional summary at the top here. I don't like professional summaries personally that are written in paragraph form because nobody's going to read that. What people want to see when they look at your resume is they want to see that you have the exact things they're looking for, whatever that is, okay? Whether it's an ATS system, a machine filter that is reading your resume and not a human, it cares about that. If it's a human, if it's a recruiter, they care about that. If it's a hiring manager, they care about that. So you want to have it right up front. And the problem is, you can do this, but it's not as readable as if you had it in point form. And the only reason I would include a professional summary is if you're going for higher level stuff. Okay, I'm talking like mid-level management and up. Okay, I would not necessarily include this. Same with skills and knowledge. This is a bit more readable. So this is good. Okay, but for example, saying, my skills are thermal systems modeling. The problem as someone reading this is I don't know how skilled you are in that, okay? Does this mean that technically you worked with someone who once did this? Or does this mean that, this is your area of considerable expertise? You see, it's not quantifiable. There's no accomplishments right here when you mention it. So I wouldn't just list things like this and say, I've done this, because that's useless to me until I maybe get into this section here and I can hopefully get more of an idea of how deep you've gone into these things. For a start, it'll tell me how many years experience you have in it. Okay, that's like a basic thing. Then it will tell me the type of work you've done. Okay, like if you once did a project on this, or you work 9 to 5 for 5 years being the go-to technical expert on these systems who designed them, like that, like it's a totally different thing, right? So just saying this at the beginning doesn't really give me any meaningful information. So you might as well lose this section and instead have your experience up front. And then within the experience, you elaborate on how you did all this stuff here. That would be my recommendation. So hopefully that makes sense. But other than that, this is good. Remember, in general, okay, you are going to get, a lot of different people giving you a lot of contradictory advice on how to do a resume. And this is because, as I said, the resume is going to change considerably depending on what you intend to do with it, starting with who's it for, okay? On top of that, it's going to change, like how you do a resume is going to change depending on whether you're like entry level, just starting out in your career, or you're, a veteran of 30 years in the industry. You know what I mean? So there isn't a one size fits all advice. The only real one size fits all advice, I guess there could be, is make sure that your spelling and grammar are correct. Make sure it is readable. So if a human reads it, it's super easy to read. Okay. And the general rule, like I was saying earlier, is make sure that the things they've told you that they're looking for, you've put very prominently at the beginning of your resume. Okay. No matter who's reading it, that's what they're looking for. Give them what they want right up front, and then maybe they'll take a longer look at your resume and get some of the other details. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you for watching. You guys are awesome. I'll see you soon. Take care.